If two people are truly meant to be in each other's lives, there is one powerful pattern that almost always reveals itself. It does not matter how different their personalities are, how far apart their worlds may seem, or how unexpected their connection appears in the beginning, there is always a certain sign that arrives before everything else. Many people have a very different idea of what destiny looks like. They imagine it as something gentle, beautiful, and effortless from the very first moment. They believe destiny enters their life through instant happiness, perfect timing, and a feeling that everything has finally become easy. They imagine two people meeting, sharing a look, smiling, and immediately knowing that they have found something special. But true destiny does not always appear in such a simple way. Real destiny does not always arrive with comfort and certainty. Instead, it often enters quietly and then completely changes the direction of your life. It does not always bring peace at the beginning. Sometimes it brings confusion. Sometimes it creates challenges. Sometimes it breaks apart the life you are comfortable living. When two people are genuinely meant to connect on a deeper level, life does not always bring them together immediately. Instead, something unexpected often happens. Distance appears. Circumstances become complicated. Timing feels wrong. They are pulled away from each other, not because the connection is meaningless, but because something inside both people still needs to change. This distance is not always a rejection. It is not always a sign that the story is over. Sometimes it is preparation for something greater. Sometimes life creates separation because two people need time to grow, heal, and become ready for the kind of relationship they are meant to have. Before two destined people can truly come together, they often have to transform themselves first. They have to release old fears. They have to understand their emotional patterns. They have to discover their own value. They have to become stronger versions of themselves. If you believe that some connections happen for a deeper reason, remember this. Before two people who are meant for each other can fully unite, they are often changed by the journey itself. Many people misunderstand what a meaningful connection really feels like. They believe it should immediately feel peaceful, safe, and comfortable. They think the right person will enter their life and remove all uncertainty instantly. But deep connections often begin in a completely different way. They do not always begin with comfort. They begin with recognition. The first sign of a powerful connection is not always happiness. It is the feeling of being truly seen. You meet someone, and something inside you responds before your mind can understand what is happening. You may not immediately feel calm. You may not instantly feel secure. You may even question why this person affects you so deeply. But there is a strange feeling that they understand something about you that others never noticed. It feels as if they can see beyond the image you show to the world. They notice the emotions you hide. They recognize the parts of yourself that you rarely reveal. They connect with a side of you that even you may have forgotten existed. And this can feel uncomfortable because most people are used to relationships where they can protect themselves. They are used to showing only the parts they are proud of while hiding their fears, insecurities, and emotional wounds. But a deep connection has a different effect. It brings hidden parts of yourself into the light. This is why some connections feel intense from the beginning. They do not only create attraction, they create awareness. The discomfort you feel does not necessarily mean the person is wrong for you. Sometimes it means they are reflecting something important back to you. They are showing you the parts of yourself that need attention. They mirror your fears. They reveal your insecurities. They bring your unresolved emotions to the surface. They do not just see the person you pretend to be. They recognize the person you truly are underneath everything you have built to protect yourself. And being truly seen can feel frightening because it requires honesty. It requires vulnerability. It requires you to stop hiding. This is why meaningful connections often feel overwhelming instead of easy. They create personal growth before they create permanent closeness. They awaken you before they comfort you. This is also why many people who are meant to have a significant impact on each other do not always stay together in the beginning. If two people are truly meant to share a future, life often creates a period where they must walk separate paths for a while. This separation usually happens for a reason. One person may still be carrying pain from previous experiences. They may still fear trusting someone completely. They may still be afraid of opening their heart because of what happened before. One person may still be searching for validation from others because they have not learned how to value themselves. They may still believe love has to be earned instead of received naturally. Sometimes one or both people are still loving from a place of fear rather than emotional security. And when two people are not fully healed, even strong feelings can create pain. Two people can care about each other deeply and still hurt each other because they are reacting from old wounds instead of genuine understanding. That is why life sometimes creates distance. It creates a pause. It creates an opportunity for growth. Because if two people come together before they are ready, they may damage something that could have become meaningful and lasting. The separation may feel painful, but it is not always a punishment. Sometimes it is the process that prepares both people for something better. When two people with a deep connection are separated, the pain often feels different from ordinary heartbreak. It is not only sadness, it is confusion. It feels like something important has disappeared from your life. It feels as though a part of you is missing and you cannot explain why the connection continues to affect you. You do not only miss the person, you miss the feeling you experienced when you were around them. You miss the version of yourself that existed when they were part of your world. This happens because certain connections are not only based on attraction or emotions, they are connected to growth and transformation. When someone enters your life and changes the way you see yourself, their impact remains even after they leave. Their absence forces you to look within yourself. It pushes you to confront emotions you have ignored for years. It encourages you to face truths you may have avoided. You begin noticing your fear of being abandoned. You begin realizing how often you seek approval from others. You begin recognizing the moments when you gave too much of yourself just to keep someone close. You start understanding the ways you ignored your own needs while trying to make someone else happy. These realizations can be painful, but they are necessary. The pain is not there to destroy you. It is there to awaken you. A meaningful connection has a way of changing you silently, even when there is no communication. Even when there is distance, even when there is complete silence between two people, something inside you begins to shift. Even when your mind tells you to forget them, even when there is no contact, and even when you try to move forward, the experience continues to teach you something. You become more aware of who you are. You become more selective about who you allow into your life. You become more honest about your emotions. You begin creating stronger boundaries. Things you once accepted no longer feel acceptable. Situations you once tolerated begin to feel exhausting. People you once chased no longer seem as important as they once did. You start wanting something deeper. You stop searching for temporary attention and start looking for genuine connection. You begin valuing peace more than chaos. You begin choosing honesty over confusion. You begin understanding that love should not require you to lose yourself. Many times, you do not even realize that this transformation started because of one person. But the moment they entered your life, something was activated within you. They became a turning point. They started a process of self-discovery. A true connection does not create endless obsession. It creates reflection. You do not simply spend every moment thinking about them. Instead, you begin thinking about your own life. You begin examining your choices, your habits, and the patterns you repeat. You start asking yourself deeper questions. Why do I love the way I love? Why do I fear getting close to someone? Why do I accept less than what I truly deserve? Why do I ignore my own happiness just to keep someone else? These questions slowly transform you. They change the way you see relationships. They change the way you see yourself. They help you understand what kind of love you truly want. Connections that are meant to teach you often work in ways you cannot immediately see. A person may disappear from your daily life, but their influence remains. They change your perspective. They change your standards. They teach you that love is not only about being chosen by someone else. Love is also about choosing yourself. Over time, you begin realizing that you no longer want to repeat the same unhealthy patterns. You stop chasing people who cannot give you emotional security. You stop ignoring warning signs just because you want to feel wanted. You begin choosing relationships built on respect, honesty, effort, and emotional maturity. You understand that real love is not about losing yourself in another person. It is about two complete individuals coming together and creating something healthier. And even though this growth may have started through pain, it eventually becomes one of the greatest lessons of your life. Because sometimes the person who changes you the most is not the person who stays forever. Sometimes they are the person who awakens something inside you that was waiting to be discovered all along. And that is how you realize the connection truly had a deeper meaning. Destined love is not always dramatic. It is not always permanent. Sometimes it enters your life, changes you completely, and then leaves. Sometimes it walks away because you need that space to become the version of yourself that can eventually understand, receive, and sustain real love. Whether that person comes back or not is not always the most important part. The greater purpose was the transformation, the awakening, the shift toward a deeper and more conscious way of living, feeling, and loving. When two people are genuinely meant for each other, their journey rarely follows a simple or predictable path. Their story moves through distance, uncertainty, confusion, and personal growth. It creates challenges that force both people to evolve before they can ever experience true alignment. And this pattern is something that continues to appear again and again. You think about them during moments when you are becoming more aware of who you truly are, during times when you are quietly changing from within, during nights when everything around you becomes silent and your own thoughts become stronger than the noise of the outside world. You think about them during emotional breakthroughs that arrive unexpectedly. During those moments when you suddenly discover something about yourself that you never noticed before. You are not thinking about them because you are alone. You are not thinking about them because you need attention, approval, or someone to validate your existence. You think about them because something deep inside you understands that this connection carried a special meaning, and that meaning has not completely been understood or accepted yet. Your soul recognizes lessons that are still unfinished. It recognizes that something important was awakened through the bond you shared. This is not weakness. This is not obsession. This is not attachment in the way people often explain it. This is integration. It is your inner world attempting to understand where this experience belongs, trying to absorb everything it taught you, and trying to recognize how deeply it changed the person you are today. A destined connection does not simply disappear because time passes. It remains present in quiet and unexpected ways. It appears when you grow. It appears when you heal. It appears when you finally move beyond old versions of yourself that no longer match who you are becoming. That is because the connection was never only about romance. It was about transformation. Type yes if you want me to reveal the hidden truth about destined love. Many people wonder why a connection like this feels impossible to replace. They try to replace it. They meet someone new. They enter different relationships. They fill their lives with conversations, responsibilities, activities, and daily routines. They convince themselves that moving forward means forgetting everything that happened. Sometimes they even believe they have finally succeeded. Life starts looking normal again. They laugh, they socialize, they continue moving ahead. But underneath the surface, something still feels incomplete. There is a quiet emptiness that remains, something they cannot fully explain. Not because the new person is a bad person, not because the new relationship lacks kindness, care, or effort. It exists because the new connection does not awaken the same depth within them. It does not touch the same hidden parts of their heart. It does not challenge the same parts of their inner world. A destined connection does not compete with anyone else. It exists on a completely different level. This kind of connection is not created only through attraction. It is not only about excitement, chemistry, comfort, or familiarity. It is about evolution. It is about becoming more honest with yourself. It is about being forced to confront the parts of yourself you avoided, ignored, or refused to understand for years. Destiny works on both people separately before it ever allows them to come together again. Distance is not always a punishment. Sometimes distance is a classroom. While the two of you are separated, life is shaping both of you in different ways. often through experiences that feel uncomfortable and painful. One person begins learning boundaries. They learn how to say no without feeling guilty. They learn how to stop giving endlessly when they are receiving nothing in return. They learn that love does not mean losing themselves. They learn that choosing themselves is not selfish. It is necessary. The other person begins learning accountability. They learn that silence can create wounds. They learn that avoiding emotions does not make those emotions disappear. They learn that actions have consequences, even when their intentions were misunderstood. They learn that real connection requires responsibility. One person learns self-respect. They stop accepting uncertainty as evidence of love. They stop waiting for answers that never come. They understand that consistency matters. The other person learns emotional courage. They learn how to remain present with discomfort instead of escaping from it. They learn how to face vulnerability instead of hiding from it. One person learns how to stop chasing. They understand that love cannot be forced. They realize that chasing someone who is not ready only creates imbalance, exhaustion, and pain. The other person learns how to stop running. They understand that creating distance does not protect them from losing someone. It only delays the growth they need to experience. Both people are changing, but neither person can fully see the entire picture yet. And this is intentional. If they understood everything too soon, the transformation would stop. The uncertainty creates the space required for growth. If destiny ever separated you from someone you believed was the one, understand this. Before two destined people can reconnect, the illusions surrounding love must disappear. Life removes false beliefs slowly and sometimes painfully. Beliefs like love should always be easy. Beliefs like if someone truly cared, they would never leave. Beliefs like love must be proven through suffering. Beliefs like another person exists to complete the parts of you that feel empty. These ideas may feel comforting, but they prevent people from experiencing healthy and genuine love. They create dependence. They create fear. They create expectations that no human being can completely fulfill. So life begins removing them. And this process does not always happen gently. It happens through silence, through separation, through disappointment, through moments where you have no choice but to sit alone with your own thoughts. You begin seeing yourself more clearly. You begin recognizing your patterns. You begin understanding the moments where you abandoned yourself in the past. You learn that love was never meant to rescue you. You learn that another person cannot heal wounds you refuse to face. You learn that true connection begins with wholeness, not emptiness. Share this video if you are experiencing a separation that feels deeper than ordinary. There comes a moment when something changes inside you. You stop needing them. You stop searching for signs. You stop waiting for a message that you believe will suddenly change everything. You stop hoping they will return just so you can finally feel complete. And that moment is not filled with anger. It is filled with peace. This is when destiny begins moving again. Not because you tried harder, not because you chased more, but because you released the need to control the outcome. Real love is not dependence. Real love is a choice. When both people can stand firmly on their own, when love becomes something they desire instead of something they need for survival, true alignment begins. If they return changed. They return more aware. They return with the ability to create something deeper and healthier than before. And if they never return, the lesson still remains. You are no longer the same person who entered that connection. You are stronger, you are clearer, you are more grounded. You have accepted and integrated everything you were meant to learn. That is the true meaning of destined connections. They are not about ownership or holding someone forever. They are about transformation and personal evolution. They enter your life not simply to remain in the same way forever, but to awaken something within you, to change your perspective, and to lead you toward a deeper understanding of love, self-worth, and inner development. When two people who are truly meant to cross paths return into each other's lives, there is often a quiet shift that cannot be easily explained. It is not dramatic, it is not filled with chaos, and it does not seek attention. Instead, it carries a feeling of calmness and stability. Your body feels a sense of peace before your mind can even understand the reason behind it. The constant tension begins to disappear. The fear of what could go wrong becomes weaker, and the need to prove yourself slowly fades away. You are no longer acting a certain way to impress them or constantly protecting yourself from being hurt like you once did. What replaces that is something much more genuine. It is honesty that feels effortless. It is a connection where you do not have to constantly explain yourself, defend your emotions, or justify who you are. The bond feels more peaceful because both individuals have already experienced their own storms. It feels more meaningful because both have looked within themselves and confronted the hidden parts they once avoided. It feels more transparent because many illusions have already been removed. It is not a perfect connection, and it does not try to pretend that perfection exists, but it is a conscious one. There is awareness in the way people communicate, in the way they handle silence, and in the way they respect each other's boundaries. There are no manipulative games, no secret motives, and no need to constantly test whether the other person cares. There is no uncertainty about the place you hold in each other's lives. There is simply a feeling of recognition, like discovering something familiar again, but this time with greater wisdom, emotional strength, and maturity supporting it. Yet sometimes, even after all this growth and understanding, those two people still do not come back together. And this is one of the most difficult realities for the heart to accept. But the connection they shared was still meaningful. The bond was not something they created in their imagination. It was not a wrong decision. It was not time wasted. Not every powerful connection is designed to remain forever. Some people enter your story only for a certain chapter, long enough to transform you, awaken you, and help you become someone stronger than before. Some people arrive to shake the foundation of your inner world and then leave once their purpose has been fulfilled. Their presence creates growth. If this message is touching something deep inside you, understand that some connections enter your life to break emotional patterns that have existed for years, sometimes even through generations. These are the relationships that reveal the behaviors and beliefs you learned before you even realized you were carrying them. They show you where you confused love with constant sacrifice, where you mistook attachment for security, and where you believed silence was the same thing as peace. These experiences force you to recognize the emotional weight you have been carrying that never truly belonged to you. They bring hidden wounds to the surface, not to hurt you again, but so those wounds can finally be acknowledged, healed, and released instead of being passed forward. Other meaningful connections arrive to teach you self-love during the moments when you have forgotten your own value. They reflect back the way you allow others to treat you. Through these relationships, you begin to notice where you accept less than you deserve, where you make yourself smaller, and where you ignore your own needs simply because you are afraid of losing someone. They awaken you to a powerful truth. Love should never require you to sacrifice your dignity, silence your voice, or abandon your identity. These lessons can feel painful, but they are also necessary. Without these experiences, you might have continued giving endlessly while receiving very little in return. Some people who enter your life awaken emotions you had buried for a long time. They remind you that you are still capable of caring deeply, trusting again, and creating a meaningful connection with another soul. Even when they leave, they often leave behind a version of you that is more open, more aware, and more emotionally alive than before.